Welcome back to the Loving Consciously podcast. Well, we are back after a very unexpected year-long break.
Yeah, it's been quite some time, and we are not the same people that we were when we left, and we have a lot to share with you.
We left off a year ago to the day at the end of season 2, so 2 full years of the podcast, with 54 amazing episodes of that last episode being Rebirthing Loving Consciously, Resting in God's Love. And we had the intention to take a couple of months break to go through some of the things we're going to talk about today and to come back a couple of months later, and God had other plans. And our life has been a whirlwind this past year. And today, on episode 55, the start of season 3 of the Loving Consciously podcast, we are going to be talking about the freedom of loving consciously, and we'll get a little bit into our personal journey of what this last year has held, and we're going to talk a lot about loving consciously because this mission, this ministry, this philosophy has been entirely rebirthed, crystallized, turned into an actual thesis and an actual academy. We're really excited to be here today to share what this has become in this past year.
Yeah, it's grown a lot. You know, when we did the last episode, we were very adamant that Loving Consciously had been reborn. You know, we redid the branding, we redid all the graphics, and redid our website, and we're ready to launch, so we thought. And the magnitude and scale to which God cracked us open and asked us to expand what is being brought through here was more than what we had anticipated. And so we needed a little bit more time to really ensure that we were embodied and clear on what Loving Consciously's mission is and what we are being asked to bring forth into the world. And so we're so excited to share that with you today.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just get into it. So we'll start with the personal aspects of sharing this past year, and then we'll talk about Loving Consciously in the second half. So a year ago to the day, we were leaving to Portugal. That was the day that our final episode aired, and we were going on this Divine Union pilgrimage, this Grail Mysteries pilgrimage to Tamar and the Convento de Cristo, and it was absolutely miraculous and beautiful, and I feel the depth and breadth of that wants to be its own episode because you experienced a miracle healing, and we had so much communion with our daughter, and so much healing and clarity in our union. Like, that was really the focus. It was much less about the mission or Loving Consciously or Sacred Eden or any of these things. It was just really, really about getting aligned in our union. And coming back from Portugal, we then celebrated our 9-year anniversary in August, which I want to say blows my mind, but now we're a few weeks from celebrating our 10-year anniversary. To spend this much time with someone just truly feels like my mind can't grasp it sometimes. Like, in ways, we just talked to someone the other day and they said the same thing. In ways, it feels like it's been months, and in ways, it feels like it's been forever. Like, I literally don't remember my life before you. So, yeah, there was Portugal and then our anniversary. And we went on that trip and rebranded Loving Consciously entirely. If you haven't seen our old logo, it's on our website homepage, but complete death and rebirth. We went from black and rainbow to gold and white and this beautiful ethereal heart of God theme, and it all is so beautiful and it just came out so good.
You know, I was telling you the other day, just bring her up. Yes. She wants to be part of the episode today. Thank you for having grace with us as we navigate this tiny space with all of our fur friends. And starting video for the first time, that was a really important commitment for us. And so as we get this started, thank you for your grace as we navigate it. But we've always been committed to being transparent and vulnerable and raw with everything that we put out, and so this is just part of that process.
I feel like that's the perfect segue into the next thing, because now it's September and we went on our second part of that pilgrimage to Scotland, and this theme was all about like prophecy and mission And we went into this trip a year into a conscious preconception portal with every intention to conceive while we were there. And again, this is its whole own story that we're not going to get into today, but we did conceive when we were there and truly just experienced such a miracle.
The only way I can describe it was a snippet of experiencing the possibility of heaven on earth and what that landed like in our nervous system. The miracles that happened, the synchronicities, the connection, not just within our own partnership, but with others around us, and seeing God working and weaving through all of everyone's experience. There were several miracles that happened on that trip, and to share them in this episode would be a disservice to how impactful they were to our journey. And so we'll save those for a later time, so stay tuned. But Scotland was really where things shifted. We were guided to Asheville, North Carolina.
Well, Western North Carolina. We're not in Asheville.
Yeah.
And for context here, if you haven't followed along, like, definitely go back and catch up, especially our very first 3 episodes, which tell our story, and then our 3 RV episodes, which tell the story of our RV exodus. But we went on this journey with the intention to figure out where we were being called to steward land. And we fell in love with 3 places, and that was Northern California, Western North Carolina, and Austin, Texas. And after the journey was over, we settled in Austin, Texas for 9 months. And after 9 months of being there, realized that that wasn't our spot. And so we were literally at this point in kind of the center bottom of the country, torn between Northern California and Western North Carolina, which are like equidistant, and the only 2 Weavervilles, which were where both of the places we were looking at land. And when we were in Scotland, we just completely and totally surrendered it to God. Absolutely. For us, like, surrendering to God is not a new thing. That is the norm for us. But in this situation, it was truly just like, we can't decide, because there are parts of our human hearts that are attached to California and the timelines that unfolded there and the land that unfolded there. And our souls feel called to Western North Carolina. And it was just like this war and this division between, like, our human parts and our ego and our soul and what we knew we were supposed to be doing. And so we gave it to God, and God was very clear. It's Western North Carolina. And so we come back from Scotland, and 2 weeks later-ish, something like that, immediately drive here and move here. And we actually arrived on the eve anniversary of the 1 year of Helene, which was such a powerful time in our lives. We have an episode on that, A Call to Love for Asheville, where we share about our journey doing hurricane relief here on the 1 month anniversary of Helene, which is when we fell in love with these lands. And so we landed in Appalachia, and fall, it was so beautiful, and it just started such a wild 9-month journey.
Yeah, and I think a really important part of that aspect of surrender too was getting in right alignment in our family unit too, because up until this point a lot of the guidance was coming through you, and my channel hadn't been clear enough to really be reliable. And so in many ways you were holding that masculine frame for the family while I was deep in my feminine and doing that healing work. And it was actually on this trip that things shifted for our family, and God very clearly gave me the directive of, it's time to move your family to the Western North Carolina region. There's something special for you here, and you're going to need to tell that to your wife. And that might not be the most comfortable conversation, because we both really had our hearts set on a different location.
Yeah, at the exact same time that Eric was having his revelation with God in this ceremony we were in, I was told, follow your husband. Like, it's time to fully surrender. It's time to fully step into your feminine. And this was a huge theme of this event, because another part of that was me deeply meeting and fully releasing all of my fear. And it was that full release of fear, that full alignment, and that full surrender of listening to God, fully stepping into our masculine feminine roles and making this decision that created the environment for us to land this experience of what you could call heaven, of existing in heaven, of the pure peace of God in our bodies, And that created the environment for us to conceive. And it was just such a beautiful journey. When we got to Appalachia, we experienced an early birth at 8 weeks. And it was, if I'm being really honest, not surprising to me, because I had just always known that I had 2 of those in my journey. We experienced our first one with our daughter 5 years ago at 14 weeks. And there was a part of me throughout this pregnancy, like, we experienced the moment of conception. We experienced the moment of implantation. We experienced the souls of our children coming into our field. It truly is its own episode, and we will share that story in its fullness. But throughout the whole pregnancy, I was existing in another realm. I was completely, just like unable to, it felt like, hold the power and the depth of what these children were and what God was asking of me and preparing me for in leading this ministry and this revolution of love. And just so many things were happening. Truly, it would take hours to like fully articulate it. And I know it all happened exactly as it was supposed to. I have no regrets. I look back now, here we are, 8 or so months later since the early birth happened, and the healing and the crystallization and embodiment and clarity that has come in this time, I feel 1,000 times more prepared for motherhood and have gotten so much closer. Through this one, we got to meet our son's soul for the first time. He has been really strong in the field right next to our daughter. And so we experienced that early birth, and this just like set us into isolation. Like, God called me into isolation. I completely stepped away from social media, the podcast, the world for 9 months, 9 full months. We were isolated in Appalachia through the fall, winter, and spring, and we just went deep into work like we always do, right? That's what we're always doing. But this was really, really sacred, potent time.
It was really dualistic in its nature as well, because there was an immense amount of healing that happened and positive, and it was an excruciatingly painful experience as well to meet that grief again. And it was so interesting to me because we were gifted the opportunity in the moment of the early birth to alchemize the unhealed parts of the previous early birth that hadn't been addressed. And so all of those stored emotions, all of those trauma responses, the times where I chose escapism and I chose to not be present with the grief showed up. And in the moment, we had an opportunity to make a different choice. And actually, we did a really great job this time around.
Most of the time.
And we were able to quickly grieve together, return to gratitude, trust God, and
our children.
And our children. And it activated me as a father in many ways that I hadn't been prepared for. It also really made me aware of the role as a protector and provider for my family, and really what that means. And of course, within those lessons are deeper lessons. And so as we, this happened during the fall with the shedding of the seasons and the clearing right in time with these mountains and all the trees shedding their leaves. And then we entered our winter, as you were saying, we were away for 9 months and gestating and processing, and we did so in different ways, some healthier than others. And for me, it actually looked like going back into old patterns and returning to a less conscious version of myself, because God really needed me to go through that contrast again to understand what we're creating and why we can't go back to what didn't work before. And so I, after the initial grieving process of going through it healthily, there was a part of me that lost a little bit of faith in God and in myself, and took that mantle of responsibility onto myself And that's, an episode for another time, but it really provided clarity on what's important in our lives, and also got me moving again and got me back into my masculine. And so as we find these rhythms in life of going from the feminine into the masculine and finding what the healthy rhythm is, it's a process. And like we always say, it's important to have grace with ourselves. And so that has been part of this, 9 months, is returning back to love within ourselves, within our partnership, with our relationship with God, and with all of our relationships. And so we're excited to continue sharing that process with you.
Yeah, we'll be sharing a lot more as season 3 continues to unfold. I feel like the only thing I want to add on this is this was such an interesting time, because if you've watched the show and you followed our journey over the last 3 years of publicly sharing this journey, we have kind of always been on the same page and going through similar essence things, and just like really in a path of similarity. And from this early birth, like something shifted and we totally veered in different directions. And there is no good, bad, right, wrong. It was much harder for you, I feel, in a lot of ways. And on the flip side for me, like it was so expansive. And literally when the early birth happened, like the actual moment that it was happening, as I'm laying in bed, bleeding in pain, crying, I proclaimed, like from the depths of my soul, like, God, I still worship you. Like there's nothing that's going to take that from me. And that moment, this experience was just like, it just solidified something so deep in me. And I think we started to witness something really interesting around, like, you turned 30 in November, and then I turned 33 in March. And, I remember 30 was like a huge pivotal moment. Like literally, I've talked to a lot of people who've turned 30, like something was shifting in my brain, and I was watching that happen for you. And then on the flip side with 33, there's a whole thing that has been revealed to me around why Jesus was 33 and why he had to be 33, and how we are, like, even new science is showing this, but like from a plasma perspective and consciousness and the brain, we become fully formed and fully independent from our parents on a plasma level at the age of 33. And so I'm in these like last months of crystallization, and you're kind of just entering that portal. And this is the first time truly where I feel like our age, age is just a number, but there is something to it, like spiritually speaking, like at least up to 33, right? Like, and I really started to notice this massive shift. And you got back into like the 3D world, you got back into architecture, and I was just so deep in my initiations with God. And so we just like, I just am seeing this like flipping and discombobulation. But I do want to share, the whole premise of this, right? The freedom of loving consciously. And we're about to get into loving consciously, which is, yes, this is about our story, but that's really what it's about. I just really want to share, like, regardless of what you may be going through, regardless of these hard times and yes, painful things that we experienced, and challenges and opportunities and blessings and magic, is like the freedom of loving consciously is that you get to walk through those things with faith. You get to walk through those things easier each time thereafter. And I can confidently and definitively say I saw more evidence, like overwhelming evidence, of the embodiment that was happening. For example, in November, we are, 2-3 weeks post early birth, very, very fresh. And we went back home for your 30th birthday and your brother's 18th to celebrate with family. And not only did we go back home, we originally had planned this trip to share the news with the family. And so you can imagine that was really tender. And they totally would have understood if we didn't go. But not only did we go, we wanted to go. Like, there was just like a part of me that was like, I want to be with my family. Like, I want to share this with my family. And that's huge. Me and my mother were no contact for a lot of time. We were no contact with your parents for years. Like, it was really, really, really huge. And to feel a desire and a safety to be with family through these challenging times. And so this is just like one potent example of being able to see the manna, the gifts, the wisdom that walking this way of living consciously brings. And I feel ultimately this 9 months and really this year away was that kind of final initiation for us into embodying this way in our lives so that we could come here today and all the days forward and present this to you, because this is a philosophy, a movement, and a way of life. And before, you know, it was really sweet and innocent and young, like always choose love, and like the intention and the idea was there. Now the movement is there, and yeah, it's just so beautiful to like think of those moments where things like that would happen, and we got to witness, like, yes, we're going through something really challenging and there's such immense growth.
Yeah, it was really a test of, like you were saying earlier, the embodiment of what we have been sharing throughout this whole loving consciously journey. And it feels very much like, you know, we were given the gift of the experience of the taste of heaven, right? Of everything that we were praying for and working towards. And, you know, it brings me back to the story of Job, of like, who are you? Not when God is giving you everything, but when it feels as though everything has been stripped from you. And this provided us the opportunity to really put the loving consciously philosophy to the test, and the Awaken Heal Love model, and really the structure behind the things that we were practicing organically. And it allowed us to, you know, from this frame of consciousness, begin to synthesize, okay, how is this actually practically being practiced in our lives? And how can we begin to create something that's beyond just us sharing anecdotal experiences of our own relationship and our own journey, to actually, let's create a model and a ministry that can help people at scale, that can be repeatable, that doesn't necessarily need us present for every single moment of the journey, but that sets you up for success. And that is not only applicable when things are hard, but when things are good, or when people are at two different stages of the journey, right? This isn't something that only works if both people are practicing it to the full extent, right? And if one person doesn't practice it, then it doesn't work, right? When somebody is conscious and truly loving consciously, it really is about individuals being in right relationship with God, being in right relationship with their own love, and then giving selflessly to their partner. And so you don't need both people to practice it. You just need one.
Yeah, it's so true. I want so badly, that's like the perfect segue into talking about loving consciously, but there's one more thing we want to share on this year-long journey, was our third year at Confluence. We went to Confluence in April, and then we actually went home again in May for your brother's high school graduation. So we had 2 trips in this year back home with family. And I mean, at this point, we have spent months with our family in the last few years, and it's just normal now to spend a week to 2 weeks with them 2 to 3 times a year. And just to like see that depth of like communion and conscious relating with our families coming from where we came from is again such a testament to the freedom of loving consciously. And yeah, Confluence was a portal as always. And for me, you know, so I turned 33 in March, and God had been telling me like this is the final push, the final initiation. And in this 9 months, like we went all in on healing. We were doing regular Taoist acupuncture. We were doing regular ecstatic dances, sweat lodges. I was doing cranial sacral, like everything we could get our hands on. As usual, you know, we're always really deep into healing, but I think we really like went all in. We started doing a scene, Sabbath, water ritual immersion, fasting on Sundays, and just really starting to take our role as spiritual leaders, our role as, you know, ministers, our role as conscious parents and children of God very, very seriously. Confluence, I prayed over like 500 people twice. I think there was a little less at opening ceremony, but yeah, God had been asking me to do this for years, and I was like, no, they're not ready, and then I wasn't ready, and I was disobedient, and it was like 3rd time's the charm. God was like, I'm giving you another chance. And thank God Alec like took a chance on me, because I approached him right before and was like, God's telling me to do this thing and telling me to tell you to trust me. And it was so epic. And that for me was like the final nail of the initiation. And God was like, you're almost ready. Yeah, just like preparing to come back to the world after 9 months of complete isolation. And if you'd like to go deeper on that, I did a 9-part series called 9 Months of Becoming on my personal accounts. So Sacred Child Guardian is my new handle on Instagram. I go very, very deep into a lot of the things we've been talking about here, and so it'd be really supplementary. But I was released back out into the wild in June, and we were just really dipping our toes into coming back into the world and starting to share these creations, because that's what I'm most excited to share with you guys today, is what has been being created in this time and what has crystallized with Loving Consciously, Loving with Grace, and Sacred Eden, these 3 beautiful ministries that we have in our kind of family of ministry. And so it's a perfect segue into talking about Loving Consciously. Is there anything you'd like to add before we transition?
Yeah, I think, for anybody who's joining us for the first time or joined recently and doesn't know our journey with family, the reason why that's so impactful is because we went, 5-7 years, no contact with my family. And it was a whole major experience that activated us together. And to be able to go from no contact and essentially extremely volatile family relationships to now spending regular family time and relating on deep conscious levels with them and being vulnerable and sharing laughs and joking and meeting each other with grace on the past and practicing forgiveness with each other is a true testament to what Loving Consciously can do for your life and your relationships. And, one other thing you forgot to mention, my sweet love, is you are an ordained metaphysical minister.
I was ordained before. I was ordained before we took a break.
Were you?
Yeah. I think I finished my bachelor's. Anyhow, I'm an ordained minister, and I finished my bachelor's, which I could have sworn happened before we took the year break. But I also, in this time, finished my master's degree. My thesis for my master's degree was the philosophy of Loving Consciously, the philosophy of conscious relating. So this is a real thing now, y'all. This is a real thesis. This is a real philosophy that God has created through me, and I'm so excited to present that today, because this is the breadth and depth going forward. We have so many exciting things to share with you, and so many avenues through which this is going to unfold, this Loving Consciously revolution. We are going to be here every 2 weeks on Fridays, live with video, to share this podcast with you, and are so excited to go deep into that for season 3 of the Loving Consciously podcast. We have the Loving Consciously support pillar, which is our version of, I suppose, what you could call coaching or spiritual counseling, which is 1-on-1 or 2-on-1 or 1-on-many or 2-on-many support sessions. And we offer those by one session, by packages, and we're now also offering retreats. And so spiritual counseling, consciousness counseling, we work with individuals, couples, families, and we never stopped doing that this last year. We actually had 3 of our clients/friends who were with us this whole year still seeing us regularly for sessions. And so that pillar is really being expanded to have way more offerings to work with us and to do consciousness consulting and various different things in that. And then the most exciting thing of them all is finally the Loving Consciously Sanctuary is opening its doors in September, and we are so excited. This is going to be the world's most comprehensive consciousness academy. This is years worth of curriculum, but way more than what it offers as a community, as a pathway, as live calls, and all of these incredible ways. It is a transformation. It is integrating these 3 interconnected paths of awakening, healing, and loving and relating, all 3 of them coming fully together to meet in embodiment, because what we believe here and what we have been put on this earth to share the message of is something is missing. Awakening is the beginning, and a lot of people are in that journey, and healing, is a part of that journey. And until this lands in our relationships and the way that we consistently and consciously love and show up in the world, it's not embodied. And we are witnessing a lot of people in the world, in spiritual leadership, in our lives. This was a huge initiation this last year, was God putting us in situations with friends, spiritual leaders, community, and watching a challenging situation come up and watching them be entirely unable to navigate that. And this seemingly so embodied person, watching them completely crumble under how difficult we know firsthand it is to relate consciously with other people, to navigate family relationships, to navigate these things. And so that will be launching in September. We are so excited. And in August, so almost exactly a month, I believe, maybe a day less from when this airs, we are having our first ever live event. It is completely free other than your presence. And we are going to be in
Hawaii.
We are going to be live in Kauai, Hawaii, for our 10-year anniversary. We are going to Hawaii for 10 days, for 10 years. We are doing Kauai and the Big Island, but for the event, we'll be live on Zoom, and we are going to present this pathway to you, this philosophy and movement of loving consciously, and the Awaken, Heal, Love model that we use and will be using in the sanctuary and this podcast. And I'm just so excited to share all of this with you guys, because I have been working full-time for months on this thesis, on this academy, on everything that is coming. And the last thing I want to mention is, first of all, check out our new website if you haven't, because it's absolutely beautiful. We have way more partners. We have free resources on there. But if you go to sanctuary.lovingconsciously.com/links-page, which you can find in the show notes of this podcast very easily, you can view our links page, and there you're going to find my master's thesis, The Philosophy of Loving Consciously, for free. You'll find a conscious relating guide that I created. It is so potent on 9 ways to reframe your consciousness and see through the eyes of love. That is also free. You're going to find our new Spotify playlist. So if you need some pick-me-ups and you just need a whole lot of love in your life, we've been curating this for years, and it really is just a collection of just dozens and dozens of songs of pure love. And so many other things. I could go on and on and on. So check that out in the show notes, the links page. You can also go to our website to find some of these things, but the links page is just like a compilation. And yeah, so many exciting things are being birthed here. We still have our same proverb, always choose love, and we've really crystallized what that means and how to teach that. And so I'm just really excited to carry on with this journey and this season, and yeah, just start this love revolution, which I guess reminds me, that's one more thing I want to say, is that is what we are calling this. And that is not something that I say lightly. That is not something that is like woo-woo or arrogant or small. I am very serious. God told me that I needed to step away for these 9 months to midwife and birth this revolution in me and in my body and in my consciousness, so that I could present it to this world, and so that I could lead it through this ministry and this academy and all of these things. And it is a love revolution that we are starting here, a conscious love revolution, an embodiment of presence, the presence of God in your mind, in your body, in your heart, in your life, that undeniable thing that we have been working to land in our experience for a decade. We are ready, and we are sharing that with the world. And so we welcome you to join us on this love revolution and this Awaken, Heal, Love pathway through loving consciously, and all of the things that we're going to be presenting to you in the coming months.
As you can see, a lot has been gestating over these 9 months, and there's a reason why we took so long to come back. Because there was a lot to do. And I have watched both of us work really hard, harder than we have in years. And it wasn't really work. It was this experience of allowing God to just touch us and see what's being created. And, as you've worked on the digital sanctuary and the community and putting together the philosophy, I've been working on the conceptual design of the physical sanctuary and some things that we're not ready to reveal quite yet. But as that continues to develop, I find myself weeping just in this state of gratitude of me. like me, you choose and trust me with this vision and this mission. And that is the love and the trust that God has for each one of us. We all have a mission. We all have a vision, an important thing to bring into this world. We are being called to form ministry and to help these ministries that are forming succeed. The Loving Consciously container is so much more than just a philosophy on conscious relating. It is an interactive ecosystem that teaches you how to bring consciousness into every aspect of your life, from food to your relationships with God, and everything in between. It is a comprehensive journey that encompasses everything that we have learned throughout our entire awakening and healing phases before stepping into love. And it is absolutely profound what this incredible woman has brought through. And more so than that, the community. The opportunity for us to gather as family is so needed now. And something that we discovered during this period has been, we can't do it alone. We've been working really hard, and even though we have our partnership and everything that we're able to work through together, we need community. And so the Loving Consciously Sanctuary is a place for us all to land, for us all to support one another, and for us all to build heaven on earth together.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing that's been most reflected to us through this journey of Loving Consciously and this podcast. Dozens and dozens of people have told us, I feel so alone. I feel so isolated. And we have witnessed firsthand this past year how our friends and leaders in this space have isolated themselves and tried to do it all by themselves, and how difficult and unsuccessful that's been. This is a cooperative, this is a team effort. We are a family of love warriors. And though we have been asked to spearhead this love revolution, it is absolutely a community. And so we're both going to have a free community in Kajabi where anyone can join. More on that to come. And then there'll be a secondary private community for those who do enroll in the sanctuary. And you touched on something so potent. If we're looking ahead just a little bit here, I am officially a doctoral student, and my doctorate is in the philosophy of conscious-centered living. So I am, and have been for many, 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 many years and lifetimes, studying how do we bring consciousness into every part of our lives. And most importantly, what is organic consciousness? By organic, I mean completely natural and free of distortions, programs, ego, etc. I have labeled this a term called Edenic consciousness, which is what consciousness was before the fall, the separation, the introduction of the ego, and really starting to understand in myself and embody in myself these aspects of right relationship, Edenic consciousness, organic consciousness in every part of our lives. And so that is what I'm writing my dissertation on. God is entrusting and using me to bring through possibly the world's first ever philosophy on conscious-centered living, where I am creating and identifying all of the different types and areas of consciousness, how to assess and identify where someone is in that, and creating an assessment tool to have someone take that assessment tool and plug into the sanctuary, which is 240 modules and growing. It is very profoundly robust, and get a personalized assessment plan where it's like, this is your journey through the sanctuary. And so I'm super excited to just keep working. And, there's so many things I'm creating. It's like overwhelming. I'm creating a conscious relating guide. And our daughter revealed to me in this most recent pregnancy journey what a perfect parent is. It was the most divine and grace-filled moment of my entire existence. And I'm creating that into a guide for parents to finally have a guide. What does it look like to conscious parent? What is a perfect parent? And what exactly are we instilling in these beautiful little souls that have entrusted us to steward them? So many things are coming, and we're really excited to have you along for this journey. So make sure that you subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. We are everywhere. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the things. And yeah, check out the show notes where you're going to find all of the links to things. We will see you here every 2 weeks on Friday to go really deep into these episodes. And if you would like to connect with us, you can find us across all of the socials, both Loving Consciously and personal, and reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear how you've been. If you're not subscribed to our love letter, make sure that you do subscribe, because that's where you're going to get all of our emails and our invites and things that are going on. So sign up for our free event and get the free consciousness reframe guide. And we just love you so much. It's so good to be back.
We're really grateful to have you as part of this journey, and knowing that the love that God has woken up in our hearts also has the capacity to be woken up in yours. And then you can be that beacon and that lighthouse for our brothers and sisters who need more love in their lives. And together we will build that snippet that we got to experience of heaven on earth. Because what that taught me is that it's possible. And not only is it possible, it's close. And we get the opportunity to bring that forward together. So thank you for being part of our family. Thank you for entrusting us with your journey. And we look forward to seeing you as part of the podcast and part of the sanctuary.
Yeah. However you perceive it, it's all welcome here. As you know, we are all-inclusive spiritual sanctuary, but the kingdom of heaven is at hand. We experienced it, and we went, in essence, this last year. We went all the way up to the top. We spent several months, Portugal and Scotland and the Conception and moving to Appalachia, and then all the way down to the bottom, and God tore it all down. And we got to experience the absolute highs again in way deeper and newer ways of these experiences to fully understand and land this in our bodies. And so we are so excited to move forward on this journey with you. And we just thank you so much for your time, for being here with us today. We are so grateful. And we will see you here in 2 weeks. And we have to go because we need to leave for the airport in 20 minutes because this guy has an international flight and we are cutting it close.
Yes. So thank you. And remember, this journey is not about the destination. You are not going to go from, okay, I'm living an unconscious life, to now I'm living a conscious life and everything is bunnies and butterflies and there's no more work to do. This is a continuous spiral, as we've talked about, of going deeper and deeper and deeper into different levels of healing and deeper levels of embodiment. And so thank you for continuing to walk this path, because it is a choice every single time. We love you so much, and we look forward to seeing you.
I thought of one more thing I want to add.
Go for it.
I made a commitment several years in a row, and I never followed through on it. But when I came back, exactly 9 months to the day since disappearing from the world, I made a commitment to myself, but most importantly to God and to this world, that I would be creating daily content. And I am 4 weeks into that every single day. So follow along on my personal channel, because I am posting every day consciousness reframes and conscious relating tips and revelations and visions that God is showing me, and sharing these gifts as a seer and a minister and a consciousness guide. I am just sharing so much in that. And so join me there, and we're really going to get off now. We love you guys so much, and we will see you here in 2 weeks.